Undiplomatic is an unscripted and unfiltered podcast hosted by Hyatt-Khan that will explore the intersection of business, politics and culture in Slovakia with a host of high-level guests across the spectrum telling their stories. What is brand Slovakia to you?
Usually I'm talking about sport, but I'm also talking about nature. All the beautiful places, historical monuments. I'm so sure that there will be more foreigners coming to our country just because of Slovak, its nature, its culture, including in times when the government is not the best ever. Zuzana Čaputová, maybe.
Sure.
We all make mistakes.
Her mistakes were amplified though.
Well,
and she's a woman, so they were much bigger for some reason.
I would never ever call whatever woman. In a way, Robert Fico and others from Smer, but also from Hlas and from Slovak National Party, SNS, what kind of language they use against her. I don't think she should step down.
I'm always impressed when Slovaks do things exceptionally well. I am saddened sometimes, however, that other people say, oh, well, it's not Germany or it's not America. It's incredible that a Slovak organization can put this together. And you said at one of your speeches at Globsec, I remember hearing you saying that it was the hardest work that you've ever had to do, trying to get people to come and trying to find sponsors. So welcome to a brand new edition of Undiplomatic. Today I'm delighted to be joined by a good friend, Jaroslav Naď, former Minister of Defense of the Slovak Republic, Vice Chairman of Demokrati Party, and now Chief Advisor to the Minister of Defense of the Czech Republic, Jana Černochová. He was voted by Hospodářské noviny as Slovakia's best ever Minister of Defense. Dear Jaro, that's a hell of an introduction. Thank you very much for joining me here today on Undiplomatic.
Thank you very much, Zul, for inviting me. I was really looking forward to coming here, so perfect.
Thanks. Well, the title of the podcast is Undiplomatic, and of all the people I know in Slovakia, I know that you speak the truth. And you don't care what you say, no repercussions, a little bit like me in that regard. So we're going to go right at the beginning. So I've got your profile and we read everything, but you, like me, are passionate about sport. Yeah, you love ice hockey. You're a massive fan of Petra Vlhova. She's my favorite Slovak person, maybe with the exception of my wife. A fantastic athlete. Did you want as a child to be an athlete?
Well, I was playing football. Right from the beginning, when I was, 6 or 5 years of age, I started to play football. Village league. Then we moved to Banská Štiavnica. Yeah. I played for Banská Štiavnica, and then actually when I was 18, I quit. I started to study at university. And then when I was 33 years of age, I returned back and started to play again here in Králova Prísenci, and it was the third league. And then I retired when I was almost 40, but still love football.
You still? What position did you play?
Well, I started as midfielder, and then I finished as defender. So
as the body started to change, we move a little bit backwards, right?
Well, that's correct.
I'm also a very keen footballer, and unfortunately, I couldn't carry on playing. I played also at a fairly decent level, and ice hockey too. Did you play? I know that your children play.
My son is quite well. You know, he plays ice hockey here in Bratislava, but actually, I don't know how to skate properly. So.
Neither do I.
Yeah. So, well, actually, when we go somewhere together for a public skating, I think he's a bit of ashamed, but that's okay. That's okay.
I know that feeling. When your kids are ashamed of you is par for the course. So now we move to Mate Bell and your passion for international relations and your politics. And I know you have a history in this regard with your father being involved in politics. Was this something then you suddenly thought, okay, well, football hasn't worked or it's not going to pay the bills. Am I going to move into an area where I feel that my interests are going to align? Was politics something you always had in your mind?
No. Well, actually, when I was at the high school, I wanted to be a teacher.
Really?
But then when I was, let's say, 16 or 17, I participated in a human rights Olympics. It's a Olympiad, yeah. And actually, I finished third in the whole Slovak territory. Yeah. And one of the members of the board who decided on the winner was a teacher from Mate Bell University. And just after, he came to me and he goes, why don't you try to go to study at our faculty?
Interesting.
And I said, okay, it's politics, political science, and international affairs, right? Okay, that sounds good. So I actually applied, and I started to study there. That was actually the beginning. And then when I was 19, 20, I met two famous people while studying at university, Ivan Korčok and Rastislav Kačer.
There you go, two former ministers of the Foreign Affairs.
Absolutely. And that time they were actually state secretaries at Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Defense. And they both, we actually became friends, and they both wanted me to join the ministries just after the university studies. And that was the beginning of my defense, I would say, focus.
It's interesting that you mentioned that a teacher approached you. One of the things I've noticed since my time in Slovakia is that a lot of people complain about the education system. A lot of people say it's broken, it's antiquated, it's still socialist, it's communist oriented. But it's nice to hear stories that when people single out an individual and say, well, look, why don't you actually entertain the idea of coming and studying? I think we need more inspirational teachers. I teach here at Comenius University. I've invited you millions of times, but you've always...
I will come.
You will come. You've always refused. I teach at the Diplomatic Academy, and I see still that the old systems are in place. And it'd be nice for education here a little bit to modernize. I know maybe this is a plan that you have with your party, Demokrati, and we can talk about that later. So now we're at Matej Bell. You, of course, met Robert Vash, and GlobeSec became a thing. How did you transition into the Ministry of Defense? And was defense or foreign affairs? Because you knew both of them. You knew Korčok and Kačer. Why defense more?
Very interesting question. First of all, actually, I found Robert Vash. When I was somewhere just before the end of university studies, I was looking for a successor at Euro-Atlantic Center, the NGO that we had there.
Yes.
And one of the teachers, again, singled out Robert Vash.
There you go.
He is a very nice guy. He is, focusing on international relations and defense. Why don't you go and grab him? So I did so. And that time it was Euro-Atlantic Center. And just to make the story shorter, it actually somehow his trajectory somehow switched from Euro-Atlantic Center to so-called Slovak Atlantic Commission, which is today GlobeSec.
Yep.
And that time we organized a regional conference called Eurosec.
Yeah.
But Robert, he's a guy who actually his motto is "Sky is the limit," and Eurosec was not big enough for him. So he actually decided to organize GlobeSec, and that was the beginning of GlobeSec. And you know that GlobeSec is now one of the top 5 defense and international relations conferences in the world. And me being in Euro-Atlantic Center and then Slovak Foreign Policy Association during studies, I told you I met Ivan Korčok, Rastislav Kačer, and when I actually finished the studies, I got offer from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And it looked like that I might be joining them, but it didn't work out. And then immediately I was called by the Ministry of Defense.
So it could have been different. You could be ambassador now today.
Well, it's possible.
Or the foreign minister.
But actually, I actually joined the Ministry of Defense and started as a regular civil servant at NATO section, and then step after step. Chief of unit, head of department, and later on diplomat at NATO and EU, and then defense policy director and then minister. So
it's interesting. 2 things I want to pick up there. First of all, I want to give massive credit to GlobeSec and to Robert and to Milan and to John and the whole team there. It's a fabulous event. And me, as an outsider, I'm always impressed when Slovaks do things exceptionally well. I am saddened sometimes, however, that other people say, oh, well, it's not Germany or it's not America. It's incredible that a Slovak organization can put this together. And you said at one of your speeches at GlobeSec, I remember hearing you saying that it was the hardest work that you've ever had to do, trying to get people to come and trying to find sponsors. So massive credit to the GlobeSec guys there, because I think it's a fantastic event. And if Macron can come, and if all the foreign ministers from India and so forth are coming, it's important.
Yeah, British Prime Minister.
British Prime Minister, of course, as well. My Prime Minister. Another point that you mentioned here is civil servant, Jaro. And this is something that bothers me here a little bit in Slovakia. I work, you know where I work with former state secretary also of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You give politicians in Slovakia far too much importance. We pay taxes, right? So we pay the salaries of the politicians, yet we're supposed to run around and you see a state secretary, pan so-and-so, and you see a foreign minister, you know, we have to do the protocol. And these are people who work for us. Did you feel that has got lost a little bit here? In the Czech Republic, however, they're very aware that they're civil servants. Here, they're people of importance. Not that I have any issues with politicians. That's not my point. My point is that I think people forget along the way that civil servant acts for the people. Do you think that's the case here in Slovakia?
Well, it depends really on personalities. Different people do different things. It was quite, advantage for me to have this lessons learned as civil servant at the Ministry of Defense when I became the defense minister. I knew people, I knew processes, I knew structures, and civil servants couldn't even lie to me that it's impossible because I knew how it worked when I was civil servant. But sometimes people who are civil servants become like too much political. And sometimes defense ministers want from civil servants to become too much political.
Sure.
So it depends on personalities, but nevertheless, I met many people, civil servants, who are perfect civil servants, do an excellent job. But yes, from time to time, you also meet the others.
I've noticed that here, but that's just a personal observation. Fast forward to the time now, you've done your dues, you paid your dues, you've worked yourself up the Ministry of Defense scale. Fast forward to the elections, the unfortunate death of Jan Kuciak and his fiancée prompted civil unrest. Again, it's students rising to create this idea that things need to change. So the collapse of the previous government 4 years ago was precipitated by student unrest, and people wanted change and people wanted hope. I think the word is hope. You were aligned to Alano then, and the former Prime Minister Matovic gave people hope by telling them, we're going to clear the cancer, we're going to get rid of all of this, we're going to get rid of all of this corruption, we're going to give Slovakia hope again. And I think a lot of people believed in it. I believed in it, you certainly believed in it, and suddenly there is a change in Slovakia. You are now elected Minister of Defense. Mr. Matovic is the new Prime Minister. How did you see Slovakia at that time in 2020? And what were your thoughts as taking the role as Minister of Defense?
Well, we had some goals and, a vision, I would say. It wasn't easy, and I'm not here to complain of reality, but,
Sure.
I remember that the first day Matovic's government was put in position was 21st of March. I remember that date because it's my birthday. And 3 days prior to that, the former Prime Minister Pellegrini announced the emergency status of COVID. So we did not have this first 100 days to get to positions.
No grace period.
Absolutely. And we actually started from the first day with COVID.
Yeah.
So we wanted to get rid of corruption in our country. We wanted to get rid of so-called our people, the
nepotism.
Absolutely. Yeah. But we were actually politically killed by the COVID situation. And on contrary to many countries in the world where opposition was actually joining government in fighting COVID,
yeah.
In our reality, opposition started to fight government for fighting COVID. And it was extremely difficult. And, finally, after 2 years, when we actually saw the light in the end of tunnel, the war came.
Yeah.
And with war in Ukraine, inflation came, energy crisis, migration crisis. So from one crisis to the other one. It was
a melting. It was into the frying pan, into the fire. We say, There was no baptism. No baptism. There was a baptism of fire. You have COVID. You've got war. How do politicians deal with that? Very differently, right? So it's giving the people assurances. I think during COVID, everybody supported the government in the first phases of what was happening, and then humans they start to lose patience when they're
absolutely
when they're ordered to do things.
Yeah, people usually do so. You know, they simply lose this will to fight or to help. Or to obey in certain situations, and that happens. It happened with COVID, and it happened with Ukraine as well. So in one electoral term, it was very difficult to survive that politically. And on the other hand, yes, we've done we made some mistakes. And
it's human to make mistakes.
Well, it's normal. But you know, the most important part of our program was fighting corruption, and I can say that in these terms we've done a lot.
Yeah,
and
I think I will agree with you in this.
And then you know, even though we made some mistakes in foreign policy, in defense policy, and in fighting corruption and fighting for justice, we've done a lot. But that's democracy. It wasn't apparently enough for people, but we tried, and we tried hard.
Another point I want to, Joe. We met a couple of weeks before the elections, and you actually spoke very confidently, saying that there will be change. You were very confident when we met, and you said that you will get elected, and you'll be able to form a coalition. And then the government kept on collapsing because of all of these unforeseen shock impact circumstances. In terms of security and defense, Jaro, I see a lot of talent again here in Slovakia. I see companies that we mentioned before. Were there anything specifically that you really proud of during your time at the Ministry of Defense that you think, this is pretty cool, I've done something I can tick, it's on my bucket list, I can walk away? Obviously your support of Ukraine probably is in there. Is there anything else that you can really touch on?
Oh, well, many areas, but
give me like the highlight reel.
Well, one of the highlights was actually successful business with Zuzana 2 howitzers. As a matter of fact, there was competition with French, with Polish, with Germans in terms of selling howitzers to Ukraine, and we succeeded. So in this big competition, we were successful, and it gave a lot of credit to Slovakia, to our state company, and also it gave labor to people and taxes to our budget. So that was one of the things in terms of business, very, very successful. In terms of, I would say, international status, obviously, delivery or donation of S-300 air defense system to Ukraine, or MiG-29s supersonic jets, that was something really high on credit. And even the defense minister or defense secretary of the United States, Lloyd Austin, he claimed that several times publicly that Slovakia is playing much higher league than it should be, appropriate for our size and power.
That's cool.
And that's cool. On the other hand, when we were discussing at NATO or EU, but especially at NATO things, it was an exception that Slovakia was asked as number 2 or 3 around the table to comment on situation in Ukraine and our positions, which was absolutely new if you compare it to the past. Yeah. So yes, there were many moments where I was so proud. On the other hand, yes, we were, let's say, winning in international area and losing domestically.
Yeah,
and it was so
frustrating.
So frustrating. I mean,
and really. This is the problem, or one of the issues that people, maybe our listeners and followers, forget: the divorcing policy from politics. So implementing actual policies that make people, that give people jobs, create opportunities, do things positively for our neighboring country, Ukraine, generating revenue, is forgotten. What is only remembered is that Slovakia is in Central Europe, and are we allied with NATO, or should we lean back to old times? And then people are blamed, and no one focuses on the positives. I see this, it's oppressive, sometimes the media here. Hard for you to divorce the politics from the policy?
Well, I had my program when I was at the defense ministry, not only manifesto of the government, but also defense program of our party. And we were just going step after step. And more than 90% of the program was fulfilled.
There you go.
So, soldiers were satisfied. They knew they saw modernization. They saw a really investment to infrastructure. They saw that in international area we're playing the highest league. That foreign support comes to our country from allied countries. That we have here troops from NATO helping us to increase our defense. It was all positive. So in terms of policy, it was perfect.
Yep.
In terms of politics. Opposition, and okay, that's their right to do. Sure. They actually were trying to complain about things that did not actually happen. Like you are emptying storages of Slovak defense, so you are decreasing
our capability
to defend.
Yeah.
Which is not true. Or you are sending for free with no reimbursement military equipment and material to Ukraine, which wasn't true. And then also in other areas, politics was very difficult.
Yeah.
So we were winning in policy, but losing in politics. And after a certain period of time, what happened was that this losing in politics had impact on the policy. And but that's politics, and you have to live with that.
Is there anything during that time when you were Minister of Defense, or when you were in Olano, maybe more appropriately, that you regret? One thing I notice here in Slovak politics is that you find politicians you speak to your public, your audience, you communicate with them very politely. I see on your social media. But I see that there are lots of politicians that use social media as a platform for hatred and are rude to voters and taxpayers. Is there anything during your administration, maybe, or during your affiliation with Olano, that perhaps you regret? Or yeah?
Well, it's quite easy to regret afterwards.
Hindsight, right? 2020 hindsight.
Yeah. So, as a matter of fact, there were steps we were doing where we believed it is right, it is appropriate, like nationwide testing. Would we test today? I don't know.
No.
Probably not.
No.
But that time, it was a huge logistical operation for armed forces.
Yeah.
I was responsible for politically, and it was extremely difficult. But we managed. But now we see it probably did not have so much positive impact. Probably. I don't know. It's still.
I don't think anyone worked out exactly how it should have worked. Now, I actually want to commend you and the army during the COVID in the first phases, because the testing wasn't pleasant. But every time we went to get tested, the army officials were always very polite, very helpful. And I know that they knew that people didn't want to do it, but they did it and they smiled.
Yeah, well, order is order.
Yeah. But it's good that even in that instance, there was genuine respect. And I think afterwards, people probably got fed up and wouldn't do it again.
Yeah. That's correct. And then obviously there were some protests against the government, against COVID measures. And me personally, I once wrote somewhere on social media that people who are climbing on the fence of the office of government, historical monument, by the way.
Yes.
That
sacrilege.
That they behave like monkeys in zoo. And obviously, opposition simply used it politically, and they started to claim that Jaro Naď calls people monkeys.
Yeah.
And until today, when I'm in political discussion, that they say, okay, you don't have any right to comment on that because you called people monkeys. I didn't call people monkeys. I called some of the protesters who were climbing on national monument on historical remain. A monkey, like monkey in the zoo, because it was very similar to destroying that. But yes, for me, it was lesson learned.
Yeah.
I know that I will never ever use this kind of
language again.
Let's say again. But yes, I say that Jaroslav Naď version 2020 is different from Jaroslav Naď version 2023, because this position, being Minister of Defense, in such a difficult electoral term, it really teaches you to be calm and polite and have respect from that position and respect from whatever high position. If somebody thinks that to be the prime minister, it doesn't matter whether it was Igor Matovic or Eduard Heger. If somebody thinks that it was easy to be prime minister in this electoral term, he doesn't know what it really means.
We can count probably how many prime ministers lost their job during COVID. Many. We had 2 in England. It was a revolving door, much as it was. So no one got it right. And maybe in the countries where democracies don't exist, there were no arguments where perhaps things worked a little bit easier. Language is something that you mentioned. And I would like to have put on record that as a foreigner living in Slovakia, all my haters on my social media are like, what do you leave the country? What does your opinion matter? Well, it does, because I pay taxes. I earn my living here. My wife is Slovak. My kids are Slovak. So I have every right to have an opinion about my life in Slovakia. But one thing that has bothered me, and it's not you, it's just generally, President Čaputová has done so much wonderful stuff for this country. She's put it on the map in a way that prior to her being president, it really wasn't. Slovakia might have been known for ice hockey players. It might be known for Petra Vlhova. It might have been known for Daliana Hanzikova and Dominika Sibulkova. The athletes, Peter Sagan, all of these great guys. But it's never really been known outside. Do you think some of the language that has been leveled at the president is acceptable? I mean, she's a woman. I'm a father to 2 girls. If my daughters were spoken to like this, I mean, I can understand why she's stepping down. A lot of the politicians from all the parties spoke to her in a way I don't think was respectful, and the media as well. Do you think language is something that we should look to refine here too also?
Absolutely. We all made mistakes. I made mistakes. Also, Zuzana Čaputová made mistakes. We all make mistakes. But
her mistakes were amplified though.
Well,
and she's a woman, so they were much bigger for some reason.
Sometimes when you are involved in politics, you see more than than people see generally, so I would be able to give you examples where I believe she made mistakes, also invisible mistakes. But we all make mistakes. I made many mistakes, but I would never ever call whatever woman, in a way how Robert Fico and others from Smer, but also from Hlas and from Slovak National Party, SNS, how they, and Republika, don't even mention, what kind of language they use against her. But I would argue with you that I don't think she should step down. I mean,
I think she should stay.
But I don't understand her, even though I know what pressure she has on her shoulders with all the
death threats.
That's part, unfortunately, that's part of politics.
Yeah.
I had increased my personal security for that. I had death threats to my children.
That's just crazy. It's just not right.
Kidnap threats and kidnap. So it's not right. And I know what kind of experience she had.
Yeah, there's a feeling of disappointment from a lot of people that she's stepping down.
Yeah, well, she because she actually did what Robert Fico wanted from her. So if I were her, I would stay. But she decided, and that's her absolute right. And now we have a presidential election in half a year time.
Yeah.
And I hope we'll be able to elect
your good friend Ivan Korčok will be running.
Yeah. Crossing my fingers. I hope we'll have only good candidates, but I'm afraid this will not happen. And this will be again a real, I would say, a vote, not only between Ivan Korčok and somebody else, but also between politics of Robert Fico and his government and democratic alternative. Yeah.
So fast forward to the most recent elections that we had, and you obviously Alano split, and you went with Eduard Heger and Vladko Bilčík, who I'm also a very big fan of. He came to my class at University Jaro, and you still haven't come.
I will come.
I'm a very big admirer of his, and he also will come to the podcast soon as well. There are a bunch of really good people there with really good values. And I know it's difficult when you split during an election. There was still an allegiance to Alano. Now a new party is being formed, and you're speaking the right things: a Western-type democracy, the security that NATO provides, EU relationship is absolutely integral to the economy of Slovakia. If anybody thinks otherwise, they are idiots. And I'll go on camera saying that.
Watch your language.
Yeah, without the EU, Slovakia has no peniaze. So that's the truth, right? My question to you is that during this election cycle, your newly formed party, it didn't make the mandatory threshold that you would have needed to get into. It's an unfortunate result. How are you building on the future? I know you're deputy chairman, maybe taking on bigger roles there as well. What did you think of the last election, and were you surprised with the result?
Yeah, well, surprised. As a matter of fact, there was potential of 11 to 12% based on polls that we had.
I don't trust polls.
Well, me neither. I used to work for one of the organizations, so I don't trust polls as well.
I went to sleep during Brexit, watching it on television. And it said that, we'll remain. And I said to I was living in Dubai at the time. I said, we'll be fine. Nothing will happen. And then I woke up and we'd left the European Union. Yeah. So the polls had always suggested that. So now I don't believe polls.
Yeah, but based on all polls that were,
exit polls?
Not only exit polls, but even before the polls that we had from various organizations, agencies. We believed that we will be somewhere close, 4% to 6%. Potential was 11 to 12, but we knew that this will not fulfill. But we were somewhere on the edge, I would say. And then, based on the polls that we have after exit polls, and as we know that our voters decided to vote in order not to lose their vote. So they actually decided 2 to 3% to vote for PS, mostly. So we held PS, but it didn't help country and our party, but also country, because with 2% more on our side, we would be able to create a government.
Yeah.
And we were actually saying that, claiming that before the election, if PS has 2% less, nothing happens. But if we have more than 5%, that it really helps us as a country. Actually that happened. Okay, unfortunately, we missed also 3% threshold for financial support from state. So it's not easy. But sometimes difficult moments for organization, including political parties, help for the future. And I say that if you are actually somewhere at stock exchange, you buy shares with the lowest prices, because then you have a chance to make some profit out of it.
Yeah.
And the former NATO Secretary General, he actually had a motto that we should cut the fat and build the muscles. So this actually might be a situation with our party. We are now cutting the fat and trying to fight this difficult situation. But I hope this will actually build the muscles and will be successful, not only for the next general election, but also for the European election that will come in June next year.
So sticking with this election a little bit, over 500,000 people voted for Robert Fico, which is more than, I think, a ninth of the actual voting electorate. So something was clearly right in their strategy, or something was clearly broken with the Slovak voting population. Why do you think that number? I mean, we respect democracy. We don't have to like it, but we respect democracy. And he single-handedly got that amount of votes. And I know there was an opportunity to form a separate coalition, which didn't occur. But with that amount of people voting for him, why do you think the population want to return that way? If the mindset may not be pro-Western or liberal democracy ideologically, do you my question to you, actually, Jaro, is straight up, is do you think Slovak people want to be Western Democrats?
They do. They do want to be Western Democrats.
500,000 people will disagree with you.
Yeah, well, that's 1/10 of population, right? Obviously, this electoral result, very positive for Robert Fico, was a bit of surprise to me. I actually expected him to swim somewhere around maybe 17 to 18%. But yes, that's really a big result for Robert Fico. But this result is actually outcome of the COVID situation and the war situation. So he was, if Robert Fico would be in position of prime minister during COVID, the party would probably not exist anymore, because he wouldn't do the different things from ours, but he would immediately lose his popularity. But now he was actually lying to people that, if I were prime minister, there would not be COVID in our country, right? He actually, you may remember that, you may recall that he was actually saying in Slovakia that the COVID doesn't exist, and he almost died in Greece somewhere during his vacation, where he was put in hospital with COVID. That's Robert Fico. And the same applies to the war in Ukraine. I mean, even today, what you may see actually is his rhetoric claiming that he would not support military aid to Ukraine anymore, but they actually continue. Yeah. With everything that we've done, they continue. But they're just lying. So people were lied to them, and simply decided to vote for alternatives to chaos, to political struggling, and argues between Igor Matovic and Richard Sulik. Yes. I mean,
as an onlooker watching governments collapse 2 or 3 times, people say, I don't want to be a part of this. I'm leaving, we're leaving. It looked like a telenovela.
Yeah, absolutely.
It didn't put Slovakia in a very good light.
Yes, that's correct. Correct observation. And but what I see now is a skilled opposition. Yeah. It will be very difficult for Robert Fico, for Peter Pellegrini, for Andrej Danko and others to keep their popularity. Yep. Because they actually will have to fulfill their promises, which is impossible. Like promises just before the election of Peter Pellegrini, we will decrease prices for energy, we will decrease prices for groceries. This will not happen. This will not happen. On contrary, and we will stop aid to Ukraine. This will not happen. Of course. Whatever they said, they will stop migration to our country. Well, this will not happen. Yeah. So the only thing that can stop migration to our country is the weather. So if it's cold, they're not coming. Yeah. If it's warmer, they're coming, and they will be coming. Yeah. And we will simply put this on light. And we will ask Robert Fico, actually, okay, so why we have now migrants in our country? Why you are still helping Ukrainians? Why the prices did not decrease? And it will be very difficult for him. And I think that this government will not survive that. Okay. And I don't know whether it will take 2 years or 3 years, but I don't think they will survive it. And on contrary, I think that Robert Fico would like to make a step and to shorten their electoral term in order to win election, let's say, within 1.5 or 2 years. Sure. So he prolongs that. Wow. That might be his strategy. Otherwise, there will be a huge loss on their side, let's say, within 4 years.
It's worth noting, again, Mr. Matovic was a very divisive figure, often a caricature. You saw yesterday's antics in Parliament. We see in the lead up to the elections as well, the issues with Kalinak in the car. I mean, again, this is telenovela type stuff, but again, he's authentic and genuine in his way of doing things. Whether you like it or not, that's how he does things. Pensions increased for the first time in Slovak history during his tenure. I know that because my svokras told me. And obviously, the fight against corruption has been very effective. So there were lots of good things that happened, but they will never get remembered because it will always be about the caricature and the fighting and the Facebook and the COVID and the Ukraine war. Fast forward now, Jaro, where I know time is precious. We're on borrowed time. You have lots of other commitments, including a holiday soon, I'm sure. You are at the forefront of the Demokrati movement, and your expertise isn't just local here to Slovakia. I mentioned in the introduction that you are now advising the Minister of Defense in the Czech Republic. Now, we work closely on my other hat in the room next door with the Czech government. And I noticed very big differences between the mindsets between the Czechs and the Slovaks. Is that the case also at the Ministry of Defense in the Czech Republic? And how did this come about, the advisorship at the Ministry of Defense?
Well, we became real friends with Jana Černochová, the Czech minister, when we were both in positions, and the chemistry works, cooperation was excellent, and just even before election, Jana supported me politically, and just after the election, she gave me a call and asks, "Why don't you come and be my advisor?"
Super.
Which was a surprise to me, on one hand. On the other hand, very positive surprise.
Sure.
And I am enjoying my position being on the other side of the table during the meetings. It's very interesting to give my advice, to give my, let's say, experience.
Sure.
And then we have many things in common. Really, we are two separate countries, but when I listen to what they are actually dealing with during the meetings that we have, actually it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So from time to time, I can say, okay, been there, done that, and my advice is this. From time to time, on the other hand, I'm just listening to how they are dealing with the stuff, because I know that we can expect that over a year or two to come. So it is extremely interesting to me. It is obviously the thing that keeps me in defense. So I'm still
within your milieu of expertise.
Absolutely. I have my security clearance for the top level, top secret, so I can be involved also in classified things.
That's some James Bond stuff there.
And it's perfect, and it's really interesting, and I'm enjoying that. I also travel across the Czech Republic and Slovakia, defense industry, but I am also and mostly dealing with Slovak politics, because as you have mentioned, I'm deputy chairman of the party, and I will be running for the chairmanship soon.
Congratulations.
Only running, we'll see. 2nd of December is the date of the Congress that elects the new presidency, including the chairman, and then we'll see.
And then one thing, I know time now, we're definitely on borrowed time. I ask all my guests on Undiplomatic in my podcast. I'm fascinated about the DNA of Slovakia. Before I ever came to Central Europe, I knew nothing of the country. Yes, I knew the Czech Republic a bit, because everyone's been to Prague on a stag do, or you went for a romantic weekend, or I'd been to Karlovy Vary, all of these things, but I'd never really put my foot in Slovakia. Now Slovakia is in my blood. My children are Slovak. My wife is Slovak. I have a vested interest in the future of this country. People might not believe it because I'm a foreigner, but I want this country to be the best it can be. And it's easy for me to be a Brit. I can say that because we have pedigree, history, and the word Great Britain is a good branding, right? You can't beat that branding. Veliki Britannia. I ask all my guests this, and I know you're a proud patriot. There's a difference between nationalism and patriotism, and we want to make that very clear. If you could consolidate what you think brand Slovakia looks like, if you were an outsider, what is brand Slovakia to you? And it's not just the tyčinky that we have here, or the kofola, or the vinea, which are all great, but what does brand Slovakia mean to you?
It's a difficult question, because being a real patriot means that you like many things, right? If I try to communicate to my colleagues or friends abroad, usually I'm talking about sport, but I'm also talking about nature. I love nature. I am a hunter myself.
I've heard.
I love spending many hours in forests, in mountains, and culture, obviously. And if I say culture, I mean also historical culture. I mean, living in Banská Štiavnica.
That's beautiful.
Beautiful UNESCO mining town. It's lovely. So there are many things you can be proud of. I don't like this nationalism. If somebody thinks that we are more than others. Yeah. No. But we have beautiful places, and we have some of our personal feelings, or the habits that we have even are unique, and I like them. So I don't have any
specific. It's just a combination of things.
Absolutely, but what I wanted to say is that I don't have any negative reflection or what's the English word I'm looking for? Zpětná vazba, the feedback, and the negative feedback from all the visits that I had, foreign visits to our country, because when I show them all the beautiful places, historical monuments, when I gave them opportunity to meet with Slovak people, including those who don't speak English, but I try to interpret somehow or translate. Then the feeling was the feedback was absolutely positive, and I'm so sure that there will be more foreigners coming to our country just because of Slovak, its nature, its culture, including in times when the government is not the best ever.
Okay, so then I'll have one last question. I believe Slovakia can be much more. Again, when I go to England or when I travel to Dubai and we hang with our old friends and family, they're like, what is it like living in Slovakia? And it's very hard for me to describe, because unless you've been here, you can't really feel it. For me, it's the people. I like the people. You never really understand a culture until you live with the people. I know many people might not like me, and that's okay.
You married my schoolmate.
I married your schoolmate, but maybe that wasn't a good decision.
It was.
Uvidíme. For me, it's the people. Mm-hmm. I think the talent. There's a lot of talent here. For me, one problem I see is I don't think there's enough showing off. There's not enough. Look at Slovakia, how great. You see Estonia, look at Estonia, you see smaller countries that punch a little bit heavier. Inside the country, Slovakia is very confident. Outside the country, it's maybe not so much. I think the president has done a lot to increase the image of the country in the international circle because she's elegant, well-spoken, calm, considered. I know, again, people will disagree with that. But I ask you then, how do you think we can put Slovakia more into the global spotlight? Good friend of NATO, a good EU partner. People who watch these podcasts don't understand these values, perhaps, not all of them. But what do you think you would like to see Slovakia do maybe to make itself more prominent in global environments?
What I think...
Bigger airport. I don't know.
What I think is that we shouldn't try to put Slovakia on spotlight with playing games like Hungary is playing now, or to be in this ugly pupil who is not behaving in the right way just because we want to show to others that we exist. We shouldn't do that. We should invest more to advertisement of Slovakia. If you
don't think enough's done on a tourism level or brand Slovakia or good idea Slovakia?
Good idea Slovakia is okay. It's not perfect.
It's terrible. Sorry.
But if you watch Eurosport, something like that, and you see advertisement of Croatia, Slovenia, Estonia, India, other countries, it's worth investing to that.
Yeah.
Because people across the world, if they watch a TV station and they see beautiful pictures of Slovakia, and we have things to be sold.
Everybody does.
Yeah, everybody does. But it really depends on whether you invest or not to this advertisement. And we did not invest a lot, I think. And then obviously the first... feeling is very important. So if you come to Slovakia by airport, okay. But if you come by train, you don't feel very comfortable at the main train station in Bratislava, right?
Although the one in Košice has been okay.
Usually you don't go to Košice. You usually go to Bratislava. So there should be things that should be done better. But
what does the future look for you then? This 4-year cycle is crucial. You think it might not last the 4 years? I'm interested in now. This is your last statement. What do you think the next couple of years will bring? Prosperity, joy, democracy, happiness, investment in infrastructure, or is it just subsidy caps?
A loss of time.
A loss of time.
A loss of time. We will lose time for our country. I don't expect any major positive steps. Maybe in certain areas there will be some small success stories, but as a country we will not move in a positive way fast forward, as you say. Unfortunately, because after COVID and wartime, I hope this region will see a calm time and peace and progress. And if there is a good government in power, then you can use this time. But if you even look to the past, every time when Robert Fico was in position and he had this calm time, he simply did not use it in a positive way. And this will again happen. So unfortunately, I don't think it will be a real black hole that we can expect.
Do you still see unwavered support for Ukraine? Because the Globsec index suggested one of the countries that had the least sympathy in Central Europe towards Ukraine was Slovakia. Poland is unwavering. Both the new government was formed recently, or they agreed on the coalition, I think, in the last couple of days. They will continue to support.
Well, there will not be a real change. In rhetoric, yes.
Yeah.
They will play this theater. But in reality, Robert Fico is not brave enough to communicate with EU representatives, with NATO representatives.
Do you think there's an end to this war? Do you hope?
We all hope. We all hope that
obviously in Palestine and in.
Well, absolutely. We all hope that the peace will come to both of these conflicts soon. We all hope so. But there should be this peace should be a peace of justice. It doesn't mean that we should create a pressure on Ukraine to get rid of 1/3 of their territory.
I get it.
Because this is not
sovereignty is
right.
about.
Absolutely,
Okay.
This is not right.
Well, Jaro, I'm sorry I have to cut you off. We've got a knock on the door. The boss has told us.
Minister of Time.
The Minister of Time. Koniec, hotovo. We are finished. And on that note, Jaroslav Naď, advisor to the Minister of Defense of the Czech Republic, former Minister of Defense of Slovakia, running to be chairman of the Democratic Party. I can't remember a time where I enjoyed a chat more. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for coming on Undiplomatic today. It's been an absolute pleasure, Jaro. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zulf. I wish you all the best, and also I wish you all the best to this program that you have.
Thank you.
It's really fantastic. Speaking in English, not very easy.
Yeah.
But
you've done it. Guardian, Al Jazeera, Times, Telegraph, Washington Post. You spoke.
I try.
Yeah.
I try. Yeah. But I wish you all the best, really.
Thank you. And I think more Slovak politicians should address international media, and that's maybe not going to happen again in the next 4 years. So, Jaro, thank you very much.
Thank you, Zulf.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.
You have been listening to the Undiplomatic podcast, brought to you by Zulf Hyatt-Khan.